everyone, it's me, C, back here with another video. Today, we're going to be talking about Asura and my thoughts on that fight. As always, if you like my content and want to see more, feel free to subscribe. Every single subscriber means a lot to me, so, of course, if you like what I do, feel free to subscribe and also ring that bell for notifications too, if you want to be sure to know when my next video is coming out. Also, check the links in the description for my Twitter and my Discord server in the description too. Anyways, with all that said and done, let's talk Asura. So, let's actually go over to my teams. Let's go over to my teams. This is my co-op team for Alberius. Let me go over to my team. A solo and Asura team. So this is gonna be kind of like a mishmash of my thoughts about Asura. So if you don't want to hear me rambling, this is honestly a video you could skip if you want. But I do have an Emissaria clear on here. So if you want to see that, I will be putting a timestamp right now on the video in case you want to see it. And I will be commentating over it because it's going to be in post. So, also these opinions are just my opinion. If you disagree with me, you're totally free to disagree. I got no problem with you disagreeing with me or whatnot because, well, everyone has their own opinions. You guys are free to share your opinions about this fight in the comments. I'd like to hear everybody's thoughts about this fight. Sorry, I is being bad right now. Anyways, let's talk about Asura. I can best describe Asura in about 3 words. She's a fortress. Yeah, she's a fortress. If you thought Emissaria was bad with its tankiness, Emissaria says, "Hi, I'm the new tanky bitch." Yeah, that's basically what she is. So, she is basically the new Emissaria. That's basically what she is. I will talk more in depth about the fight when we get to there, but I would say this fight is not as bad as Yaldo with the whole necessity of having Leonardas to make your life easier. You can do this fight without Leonardas. I've seen many clears without Leonardas, so it is possible. It's just, if your DPS is a little bit on the lower side, you will have to do some weird strategies for this fight, which can either be really good or really bad. That just depends on your roster and depending on how long you've been playing, because if you've been playing for a while, you probably have a decent roster, so that's going to be good for you. Unfortunately for the newer players, they do not have this big roster, so you will be kind of scrounging for stuff, which is not exactly the greatest thing in the world. So I do want to talk about some characters that are really good for this fight. Also, I should mention, I don't think this fight is that bad. It's not that hard. There's a few things that can be kind of scary, but I don't think it's about as bad as, say, Yaldo with his shit or Lilith in some regards. If I was to rank them based on how bad they are, I'd say Yaldo's the worst. Lilith is in that middle ground, and Asura is at the bottom, meaning that she's probably like the easiest, because she doesn't move at all. As you'll see in my footage, she just doesn't move at all. She just doesn't move. So, me saying she's a fortress kind of works. So, since this fight is mainly for shadow characters, let's go down to my shadow roster. Oh, that's not who I wanted to see. Not yet, to Gala Cleo, not yet. I'll get to you. So, the main shadow character that I recommend for this fight is Alberius. Alberius hits like a fucking truck and his massive DPS, his massive damage off his, off of both of his skills, and him taking advantage of Dragon like nobody's business, he will do so much damage, it's insane in this fight. Plus, his S2 has an AoE, and like y'all know, AoEs are kind of important for this fight, as I will talk about in my commentary over my Coop Clear a little later on today. But Alberius is probably one of the top picks for this fight. I am not going to say if he's overly meta, because I don't necessarily, I think I've said this before, but I think every unit is viable in some capacity in this game. You just gotta know the fight and how to use said character. So I would say, let's use a viability ranking. Yeah, let's use that instead. So Alberius' ranking in terms of his viability in this fight, he's he's at the very tip top for viability in this. He is so good for this. It's insane. I'll give a little special mention to Gala Alex, because I've seen people clear with Gala Alex. She is a lot better for this fight if you have her spiral worked up a little bit. So just keep that in mind. Plus, Asura does have a high poison and shadow blight cap. So Gala Alex is going to have to work best on a team that does have poison res down, so you can take advantage of that, which I will be getting to in a second. Joker is also very good for this fight. He can handle DPS kinda well, but the main attraction here is probably his Dispel. His super fast Dispel is going to be really, really nice too, especially towards the end of the fight where Asura is going to start putting strength buffs on herself. So you want to get rid of those as fast as possible, because that damage does rack up. Asura doesn't do too much damage per se, but it's still better to be safe than sorry. Let's see, who else can I talk about? Delphi. Delphi is really, really good for this fight as well. Like I've talked about with Gala Alex, Delphi is more of a use on poison teams for this. So if you have a poison res down skill, which I will be talking about in a bit, Delphi is going to work so well with this. He poisons like fucking madness. It's insane. He also has a defense down buff zone, debuff zone, so it's just more to the pie. So he's going to be a really, really great support if you are trying a poison setup. I've seen a few people clear with Forte and Expert. I'm not too sure about Master. I've also seen people try Summer Patia, but I don't know how logistics these are, because I haven't tested them myself, so just keep that in mind. I will mention Gala Cleo. Sure, I'll mention him. I'll mention her. With the recent changes to Curse and Agility, where skill shift characters are not affected, Gala Cleo is able to do a bit more in this fight, and she can be used to help support the team with her defense downs, which is really good. Plus her, I think it's her her S1. Her S1 will hit sporadically throughout the screen, which can be nice for clearing some orbs if you are having some issues with that. But I will recommend some shared skills for that, so don't worry about that. Veronica, I've seen in a few comps. I've been using her in a poison comp. Just know, yes, she is more viable in a poison comp, but with no really good way to put Veronica on the low HP and keep her that way, she is not exactly going to be at her top DPS potential here like she is with Cayenne, where she can stay at low HP for most of the fight, because Grace is more of a viable option here, which here in Asura she's not, because of Curse and Nihility, so just keep that in mind. So Veronica is more of if you're trying a poison strat, in a sense. Now for two healers. Summer Veronica She was fucking built for Dominion. Her spiral is fucking built for Dominion. She will have a few issues because her lifesteal does kind of get knocked by personality, my bad. So just keep that in mind. It's a little bit bugged. But that over damage she has is it is so good. So if you're looking for some over damage and you have some Veronica and you've worked up her spiral, she's gonna help because that over damage does help DPS wise, which is nice. So if you are concerned about that lifesteal bug, or you're just not at that point in Veronica's spiral with the over damage, you could use Story Cleo instead. Yeah, a little surprising actually. My first thoughts with Story Cleo was she was not going to be viable for this, as like in the same sense Jay-Z has issues. Because Jay-Z has issues in Lilith where she can't keep up the heals because of the constant stacking of creeping corrosion. Creeping corrosion is not that big of a deal in this fight, so Cleo is more at home here, which is really nice. Plus, if you have worked up Cleo's spiral, she can heal off paralysis. Why do I mention paralysis? Because Asura inflicts paralysis. So, say you're running a blind team. That is going to be very, very useful to do, which is great. So you won't have to be worrying about paralysis too much in the fight, but paralysis isn't affected so much. So that's just something to keep in mind. But if you have worked up Story Cleo, she's going to be a great free-to-play option. Now for the two guns. I recently did a video on Summer Mim, and I can definitely say she does work in Asura. I haven't seen a master clear with her, but I would assume if you try hard enough, you probably could do it with her. It's just, I don't think her DPS really stacks up to Alberius, so if you were kind of wanting to do so, Mim would have to be a secondary AI, secondary DPS on your team. But as we've learned from previous Dragon Drive characters such as Belina, Dragon Drive AI is fucking terrible and you shouldn't do it. They just spam skills and never rack up that standard attack. So if you want to use Summer Mim, be sure you are playing as her. She is not fit for anything in auto because, well, she is Dragon Drive. Next character, Gala Shell. A lot of people were genuinely surprised that some of Gala Shell's stuff was, the Curse and Agility. So if you got Gala Shell on that Gala remix we had last month, then you're in good hands because Gala Shell is fucking everywhere. In pubs and in clears, she's everywhere. She does a really nice job of helping supporting the team and being a nice secondary DPS. And since she is a mana caster and she has Gauge Accelerator, this means that she can help break that OD bar on Asura faster, but it's not really as big of a deal. But it can be used more for helping to shred the part of Asura you want to break. Now let's talk about Flame. Juden. So Juden is also another good option on the Flame side for Phase 2. I am using him personally and he works. He is really nice for dragon ramping, especially since he has more dragon time up his sleeve than Leonardas, which you want as much dragon time as possible on this. I will explain that when we get to there. So just know if you have worked up Juden's spiral, he is also another great free-to-play option. Galaxy is also pretty good, especially if you worked up her spiral, because she does get a strength amp early on, and she also gets Scorch Rent, I think, off one of her skills. I don't remember which one it is, but she is a dual afflictor, so she can slot into both a burn and a Scorch Rent team. But for this, you're most likely going to be doing a Scorch Rent team, but still, that kind of works as well. Who else have I seen a lot? Halloween Lowen, obviously, he's like the best healer for Flame. I don't got much to say on him, it's just everyone kind of knows he's the best healer in Flame. I don't have these two characters, so I'm going to just talk about them now. Kimono Ellie and Summer Alex, I'll probably put pictures of them on the screen. They're really good for helping reduce Scorch Rend resistance, which you will want in this fight, especially Master difficulty when you are trying to get as much damage in as possible, because let's just face it, Asura is a tanky motherfucker. So if you don't have a Scorch Rend res down character, you will be having a little bit of difficulties with this fight. So that is a fair warning to you, because trust me, I've been having troubles myself. Let's see. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Leonardas. Yeah, he's meta again. He's meta in here. He's basically like king of viability for Flame right now. He is great. So good for phase 2 because of his high DPS and his AoEs. I will make one con about Leonardas in this fight. His short dragon time. And if you know anything about this fight, you want as much dragon as possible for a certain section I will talk about. So that is why I don't necessarily... There's a part of him I do not like for this fight. Now, let's talk about some shared skills. So let's go back over here. So I did mention earlier about poison res down content and how that is a viable option for this. You could use either Halloween Melsa's skill, which is what I'm using, or Formal Noel's skill for this. I do not have Formal Noel, so I'm using Halloween Melsa's skill for this. But if you want to do a poison res down team, like a poison team for this, you will need a poison res down skill because of that high cap. Just keep that in mind. This is really good for that. Let's see. Does my Flame... That's not the right team. Aha! Here we go. So if you're having some issues finding an AoE skill, you could use Gala Shell's skill, Rising Circlet. You could also use Eugene's shared skill, which I do not own. You could also use... what is it? Is it Gala Mascula? Yes, it is Gala Mascula. Gala Mascula's skill 2, if you do own him. These are all great AoE options, which you will definitely need for this fight. I do apologize if I was going a little too fast for you. Sometimes I just kind of ramble on with my thoughts. But now it is time to see a co-op clear from me. So I will see you all next time. So, let me redo that. I'm sorry. So, with all that being said, I do hope you guys do enjoy my commentary over that co-op clear. But that's gonna be it from me in present time. So, I'm going to leave it over to Future C in editing. So, take it away. So, hi everyone, this is post-recording C here. This is my Emissaria footage that I did with a few friends. Thank you to them for helping me do this. I thank you kindly. For this, I'll be playing as Alberius and Leonardas, in case you were wondering. But I'm going to be talking about Emissaria and all that. So, basically, a lot of the things I see for this fight are triple Alberius and a healer, typically Cleo or Veronica on the shadow side, and then on the fire side, it's like 3 Leonardases and a Lowen. That's what I typically see. So, let's talk about a few things in the fight. You're obviously seeing me go after these orbs. What do these orbs do? They give you a strength amplifier, which you want so desperately for this fight. because without these strength amplifiers, you're not going to be able to win this fight at all. My bad! Plus here, you will be seeing me and another Alberius do some AoE, because Asura likes to place these all over the screen, so it's best to have an AoE skill at the ready. In terms of Alberius, which I am using, he has his S2 for that, so it's not really that big of a deal to do so. As you can see right there, I just cleared them all out with my S1. But these strength amplifiers are very important because they do a ton to maximize your damage for this fight, which is very, very important. So I should note one thing about these is that they do kind of take away healing, which is a little annoying. But Asura doesn't do much in terms of damaging stuff anyway, so this is not really that big of a deal personally to worry about. Plus, you are also kind of seeing me attack from the behind over here because you want to. Asura has a breakable part like how Gala did with his book or Lilith did with her wings. So you want to break them too. I'll talk about the orb in a bit. I'll talk about the orb when we get to phase 2. I don't think it's that big of a necessity to talk about it right now. So, I'm not sure what the Heavenly Wings does in this fight, but it's still like, hey, they're kind of here. Just get rid of them anyways, because you don't want anything bad to happen. So that's kind of why I do that instead. I will also talk about the purples as we get on to phase 2. There's a lot I gotta talk about in phase 2. Phase 1 is so much easier. Phase 1 is pretty much like the easy portion, but phase 2 is where it gets a little bit more chaotic and where I do have to be careful with what I am doing. So just keep in mind of that. Also, exclusively in co-op, there's these orbs these big circle markers that will go under you, and you will have to go to a corner of the screen. Basically, just go to a corner of the screen, don't overlap with anybody else, just to make sure that nobody else dies or anything, because a lot of the characters that are used for this fight are a bit squishy, especially Leonardas, and Leonardas is so fucking squishy. So it is very, very important to just maximize your skill here to make sure you don't take unnecessary damage. I don't know if we're gonna see it here in phase 1. There is an attack that is kind of nasty, but I don't think we'll be seeing it here. I'm not sure. Oh, here we are. So this attack could go fuck right off. I don't like it. So, thankfully, I was able to be in a room with friends where I could talk about this. So, we were able to communicate when to use this, but when you're in pubs, it's going to be very hard to do. Now we're getting into phase 2 where things start to get a little crazy. The best way I could describe phase 2 is more like purples. Purples everywhere. If you saw the thumbnail, I think it makes kind of sense. But I also like to somewhat compare it to a little bit of a bullet hell. I've played a little bit of Toho, if you know, so I'm a little used to the whole bullet hell thing. So this is not something that's like out of the ordinary for me to know, but it's just still kind of crazy, especially with the limited movement you have. So you need to make sure you maximize your movement. I will also be doing a very interesting strat here in a bit. Also, there we go, we demolished the wings. That's good. No, this is not it. I'm trying to wait for when we see that orb thing come back because it is a bitch. It is a bitch in phase 2. I'll tell you. So here is the orb that I hate so much. Usually for this, I like to use Gala, not skill, because it is a high combo skill, and then just pop dragon immediately and just try to maximize my damage in this small time because let's just face it, this orb fucking sucks. I hate this orb so much. It's so annoying. It is so annoying. So it is very much worth it to maximize that. So that's why I like to keep that skill on the ready for that orb because it is so bad in phase 2. Because unlike Shadow, Flame does not have that DPS in order to do this, so you will have to do more strategizing with this, especially in solo play. And this is also where runs do go die in solo, so just keep that in mind. In case you're wondering, I have not done a Master Solo clear because of my limited roster and me not having really anything Scorch Friends down-wise, so that's why it's a little more difficult for me to do so. But I think eventually, once I get more characters that can do this a little bit better, I will be able to get that Master Solo clear. I'm not too pressed about that Master Solo clear, especially since I got my Master Co-op clear. So I'm fine with it. So I don't think I really got much left to say on this, so I will leave you all to watch the rest of my footage. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time.